Have you ever noticed how some people carry everything alone? They handle stress, pressure, and exhaustion quietly, and even when help is offered, they say, "I'm fine, I've got it." Maybe that's you. Maybe you've stayed up late fixing problems, absorbing others' struggles, holding everything together, all while never saying, "I need help." At first glance, this may look like strength. People admire it. They call you dependable, capable, strong. And yes, there is courage in being self-reliant. But psychologically, carrying everything alone is usually a nervous system adaptation, not a badge of honor. It's a strategy your brain developed to keep you safe, one that served you in the past. But now it may be quietly costing you your energy, your peace, and even your relationships. Most people assume that those who never ask for help are confident, independent, maybe even emotionally strong. But the reality is often the opposite. Many people who never reach out for support aren't confident in others, not because people are bad, but because their nervous system learned early that relying on others could be unsafe, disappointing, or unreliable. Think about it. If you grew up in a family, environment, or culture where asking for help wasn't met with support, approval, or safety, your nervous system learned a simple rule. I can't depend on anyone. I have to manage this alone. So instead of trusting connection, you trust control. Instead of leaning on others, you lean on yourself. Instead of risking disappointment, you choose exhaustion. Psychologists call this pattern protective independence. And it's not a flaw. It's a survival mechanism. But here's the catch. Survival strategies that once helped you can later limit you. What once kept you safe now keeps you from receiving care, resting fully, or sharing your emotional load. Why would the brain choose struggle over support? Because the brain prioritizes safety over comfort. And for some nervous systems, asking for help doesn't feel safe. It feels risky, unpredictable, exposing, not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, insidious way that says, if I rely on someone and they let me down, I won't survive that feeling. So your brain chooses the known pain of exhaustion over the unknown pain of disappointment. And that's a rational choice when viewed through the lens of survival. Biologically, asking for help can trigger subtle threat responses. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, detects risk when you consider being vulnerable. You might notice tightness in your chest, tension in your body, sudden urges to say never mind. Minimizing your needs, a strong pull to handle it alone. This isn't weakness. It's your nervous system reacting to a past pattern of emotional danger. Many people who struggle alone are also hyper-responsible. They feel responsible not only for their own emotions but for everyone else's too. They think, if I ask for help, I'll burden someone. If I open up, I'll stress them out. If I need support, I'll be inconvenient. So they carry everything quietly, which creates a painful paradox. They give support freely but don't allow it for themselves. And over time, this imbalance leads to exhaustion, emotional fatigue, and a quiet, persistent loneliness. The tricky part is that this becomes identity-based. People start to think, I'm the strong one. I'm the reliable one. I handle things. And asking for help feels like betraying that identity. Not because they're incapable, but because their nervous system associates vulnerability with danger. Here's the reframing you need. Struggling alone is not strength. It's self-protection. And self-protection was useful once, but now it limits you. Strength isn't doing everything alone. Strength is letting someone see you when it's uncomfortable, admitting overwhelm before collapse, and receiving support without apology. That's emotional maturity. Now let's get more specific about the psychology behind this pattern. There are usually three driving factors: early experiences, nervous system wiring, and emotional identity. Early experiences. If your emotional needs were minimized, ignored, or punished as a child, your brain learned that being needy was risky. Nervous system wiring. For some people, the threat system is hyper-responsive. Vulnerability triggers subtle alarm signals that push you back into control. Emotional identity. If you've internalized that being strong means handling everything, asking for help feels like betraying who you are. When these three factors interact, It creates a perfect storm for chronic self-reliance. Now here's a way to visualize it. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with invisible stones. Every small task, every problem, every worry, it gets added to the pack. You carry it everywhere. People may notice you seem capable. But inside, the weight is unrelenting. Asking someone to take even one stone off feels impossible because your nervous system says, I have to carry this. It's the only way to stay safe. And the longer you carry it alone, the heavier it feels. Not just physically, but emotionally. Your mind becomes constantly alert, scanning for what could go wrong. Your body is in low-grade tension. Your patience and energy diminish. This is why people who struggle alone often burn out, even though outwardly they appear unshakable. Here's the biological insight. Humans are wired for co-regulation. This means we regulate our emotions and stress not just internally, but through safe connections with others. When you suppress the natural human need for support, your nervous system doesn't get that regulation. You stay tense, hyper-alert, and overstimulated. Your body works over time and your mind starts believing that being unsupported is normal, even though it's exhausting. So, how do you start loosening this pattern? Not by forcing vulnerability, but by creating safety for receiving. Step 1. Practice low-risk receiving. Start small. Let someone hold a door, carry a package, or handle a simple task. Notice how your body responds. Tension, guilt, awkwardness. That's your nervous system recognizing a new possibility. Support without danger. Step 2. Recognize and name your needs privately. Many people who struggle alone don't even notice when they need help. Ask yourself daily, what feels heavy right now? What's overwhelming? What feels unsustainable? This awareness is essential before you can safely ask for support. Step 3. Practice indirect vulnerability. If asking directly feels impossible, start sideways. Say, this week has been really heavy. I've been overwhelmed lately. Not a direct request, just sharing your experience. Often, support arrives naturally, which begins retraining your nervous system to tolerate being cared for. Step 4. Reframe asking for help as interdependence, not weakness. Humans evolved as cooperative beings. Relying on each other isn't failure, it's functioning as we're biologically designed. Support is nervous system regulation, emotional homeostasis. Asking for help is not weakness, it's a sign of healthy emotional intelligence. Now, an important caveat. Some people who struggle alone may also have ADHD, high sensitivity, trauma histories, or avoidant attachment. In these cases, asking for help feels even more threatening. Working with a therapist, coach, or trauma-informed professional can make receiving support safe and sustainable. There's no shame in using guidance. It's skill building, not weakness. Here's a subtle insight. People who struggle alone often equate vulnerability with burdening others. They worry. Other people have it worse. I should manage this myself. I don't deserve support. But needing help is not a liability. Denying needs doesn't make you strong. It makes you tired. Over time, this pattern silently erodes trust in others and even in yourself. So how do you rewire that trust? Start with small, consistent experiences of safety. Low-risk receiving, awareness of needs, indirect vulnerability, and reframing support as strength, repeated often, helps your nervous system learn. Asking for help is safe. And remember, people who struggle alone are not broken. They're hyperprotective, guarded, not unavailable. Their nervous system learned that relying on themselves was safer than relying on others. That strategy helped them survive. But it doesn't have to define how they live now. Real strength is letting someone see you, allowing support, and practicing co-regulation. It's stepping out of self-protection and into emotional safety. It's not easy. Nervous systems adapt slowly. But even small steps, like letting someone help with a minor task, begin to rewire your brain to trust support. Let me summarize. Struggling alone is often learned self-protection, not independence. People who do this often carry hyper-responsibility for themselves and others. Avoidance of help is rooted in nervous system patterns, early experiences, and emotional identity. Asking for help is not weakness. It's human regulation and emotional intelligence. Begin small. Low-risk receiving, naming needs, indirect vulnerability, and reframing support as interdependence. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are adapted. And with awareness, practice, and safe experiences, you can learn that needing others isn't a liability. It's part of being human. Instead of seeing support as something extra or optional, try seeing it as part of your daily emotional hygiene. Notice small opportunities to let people in. Maybe it's sharing a thought with a friend, asking a colleague for input, or letting a family member help with a task. Celebrate each time you do it, even if it feels awkward. Reflect on how your body responds when you accept help. Journal about it if you can. Today, I let someone help me, and this is what I felt. It may free you and make life not feel like a roller coaster ride.